Hi, I'm Glenn Carnegie, skills coach for the Vancouver Canucks. Today I'm going to show you some drills to work on the fundamentals of puck protection. Half the game, the battles are down low along the walls and behind the net, so we want to be able to protect pucks and get them to the net as quick as possible. So we're in the offensive zone, okay? We'll rim it, you're going to wide stance, I'm going to take it on my backhand. Now I'm in there protected from him, and I can take seam, okay? There you go. So you're facing the play, it comes around. There you go, wide stance, turn, protect, shot. You're here.
Coach for the Vancouver Canucks, longtime friend. We've known each other since I was playing. Glenn was a guy who helped me on the ice and in the gym, skill development. We loved each other. We argued. We had fun, and we bickered a lot. How long you been in Van? 10, 12 years?
This 12 season, I think.
Yeah, 12. He survived 3 coaches, 4 general managers.
Yeah.
And still kicking. I thought it'd be fun for us to discuss a different topic than JP talking and you guys listening. Glenn's going to talk a little bit, and if you guys have questions, by all means jump in. This is a learning experience for everyone. I've learned a lot from Glenn, and I still learn from Glenn because we discuss points and argue quite a bit. Glenn, go get him, buddy.
Well, again, thanks guys for letting me speak to you. I know it's not the most the best of times right now, and we'd all rather be doing something else, but here we are. So yeah, JP, like he said, I started out doing more strength and conditioning back in Winnipeg, and I guess JP would have been the first NHL guy I started working with. That was back when we had a little small training facility in Winnipeg, or in Gateway Community Center. From there, I ended up being the strength coach for the Manitoba Moose, who at the time was the farm team of the Canucks. And I had a great coach, Alain Vigneault, who started getting me do more on ice stuff with the Moose players, because he knew I was doing skating guys in the summer. So he got me doing more stuff on the ice and in the gym. Vigneault went to Vancouver. 2 years later, he asked me if I wanted to come to Vancouver, and first I came as assistant strength coach, and then after my first year of that, they gave me an offer to be a skills coach. At that point, that was 2008, 2009. There wasn't too many skills coaches in the league, so I kind of came up here, and I remember meeting with Vigneault the first time, and I asked him, okay, well, what do you want me to do? He said, I don't know, you're the skills coach, figure it out. If you're fucking up, I'll tell you. So that was my first kind of experience jumping into that, more so with NHL players and into the team environment, and kind of making my way through that, which is challenging because at the NHL level, there's so many different things going on. The players have so many things they're doing. Even more so now, we play almost every second night. So it's really hard and challenging to kind of fit the things you want to do in, and then make sure you can do it consistently, which is a big thing. So anyways, talking to JP, we were talking about running practices and stuff like that, and I kind of break it down into 3 things. And sorry, I'm going to keep looking up here because I wrote it down, but for me, there's leadership, and now, you know, from running a practice, you got leadership, confidence and being demanding, and then a consistent environment. So you're always creating environment every time you step on the ice. So those are kind of 3 areas I'll touch on. First of all, with the leadership, for me, that starts long before you get to the rink. That starts, you know, in your practice plan, getting to the rink on time, and JP would attest that my early years, I probably struggled with that a little bit.
Never.
Yeah. So, but it's such a big thing. And again, when I had working with NHL guys, or a guy like JP, and I was lucky to have a guy like JP and Mike Keane and all these guys who are so dedicated that it was like, holy shit, like this is their job. Like if I'm not ready, I shouldn't be working with these guys, because it's their job, it's their time. So for me, I learned quick, whereas like, okay, you got to be prepared. And now I'm the same way when I go on the ice with NHL players as I am with 10, 12-year-olds. It's always the same. So your leadership starts by being on time. your practice plan is prepared. You get to the rink early. You make sure all the equipment, what things do you need for your practice plan? Make sure you got it all, because there's nothing worse than getting there and it's like, oh, we need 12 cones, but we only got 6. Now what are we going to do? So get there early. Make sure everything's there that you need. Really important. Also with your staff, I don't know how many coaches you have on the ice, JP, but you know, Adam comes on the ice with me sometimes during the summer, and he could probably attest that once I'm on the ice, we're going. Like, it is go, go, go. I don't want to be, for people who are on the ice with me, I want the pucks where they got to be. I want the next station or next drill set up while I'm explaining, so then we can just jump right in. Like, that's so important for me. I mean, Adam would probably test. He probably got a few stern looks or a few shouts during the summer, but, you know, it's not because I'm mad or it's not because I'm anything. It's just I want that practice to be going. I want to maximize our time because ice is valuable. So that's a really big thing with your leadership. And again, it's making sure everyone on the ice is on the same page. Everyone knows what drill is next. I mean, even during our practices here in Vancouver, I'm on the ice. During our regular practice, I'm not doing a ton, but if I don't have pucks in the right spot, or if I don't know what drill's next, and players ask me, hey, what's next? Or Travis Green skates by me and says, what's drill's next? And I'm like, I don't know. He's going to lose his shit on me. It's all the time. It doesn't matter if you're the guy in charge or the guy moving pucks. Everyone's got to work together and be in tune every time you're on the ice. Again, for me, that's leadership. When you get on the ice, if you're running the practice, you got to be in charge right from the beginning. And that's not going out there and yelling at people and being a jerk or anything like that. It's, okay, practice starts at 5. It's 5. Let's go. Looking around, make sure the gates are closed and everyone's safe and everything's set up like that. How long are your drill times? That's one thing I struggle with a long time too. Is like I get going on a drill or a station and we have set times. I totally forget. I go too long, and it messes everything up. So for me, it was always, if I can be on top of that, I always had one of my staff telling me, hey, 2 minutes, we're done. 2 minutes, we're done. And again, that just helps you get through the practice efficiently, keeps your players engaged, and the players know it, especially when you're working with, bantam, midget, AAA players or higher end players. They know when you're not organized. They know when you're not prepared. And that's when they'll eat you alive. Like that's the thing with hockey guys. Like, and I'm sure all you played and you all know, like, you'll get eaten alive. So be ready, be prepared, and keep everything on task. I think too, what's really important is setting the tone. So, a lot of this stuff is going to kind of, I'm going to repeat myself, but I think these are the key things for me. Setting the tone. So again, when I'm on the ice, everyone knows I'm running the show. Everyone knows what my expectations are. I'll usually bring them in. Even when days we do skill days here in Van, it's not a day off for guys. So if I come out there and I'm loosey-goosey or I'm just, screwing around, then that's the mentality of the players are going to have. They follow what you're doing. So if you're not dialed in and intense in your own way, it doesn't mean you have to be out there yelling and screaming and anything else, but bring an intensity, then your players, your practice will be more intense. Like,
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I know you're relating a lot to the Canucks. I know you work with a lot of young guys. Most of our group work with youths anywhere from 7 to 13 to 15. How do you take that with them and that expectation and that intensity?
I think it's the same, JP. Like, you can ask Adam. I think when I'm on the ice with the young kids in the summer, I let them know that I think kids can handle more than we often give them credit for. And I think if you express your expectations early, so when I bring them in, I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to have fun, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. And again, that's not yelling at them, and it's not like berating them, but it's just bringing an energy, having a smile on your face, having a jump in your step. Like, Darcy Zajac came out and worked a couple times with me, and my pet peeve, and Adam might even know, is if I ever see a coach on the ice doing this, that's it. See you later. And I don't care if you're coaching 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, whatever. That does not fly. You got to be engaged and you got to be involved. And I think that's how the younger kids engage with them, talk to them. And I think I'll jump ahead a little bit. Sorry if I'm rambling on. I get pretty passionate and excited about this stuff. But that's how you engage and keep an intensity with the kids, by challenging them to do better, challenging them to do faster. The other thing, when you're watching a drill, let's say you have one kid who's maybe a step ahead of the other kids, within the same drill, can you add something for that player where you could go to him and say, hey, try this? So that's going to keep that player engaged. That's going to keep each player having fun. And I know that's challenging, but it's really important because at that age, you're going to have a ton of different kids. So the ability to see a drill and say, that's pretty easy for this kid. How can I make it a little bit harder for him? And just go over to him and say, hey, try this. And then when he does it, get him fired up, give him the high fives. That to me is building intensity. That's leadership, and that's setting a tone. I'll go on here. Am I rambling on too much, or?
No, I'm good. You keep going.
Right, let me know. Should keep me in line, JP, if I'm going on.
Yeah, I'll give you the
Number 2 on my board here, confidence and being demanding. For me, confidence came with more knowledge I had. And again, when I was on the ice with NHL guys, for example, Mike Keane, who I don't know if you guys know Mike Keane, but one of the most intense guys you'll ever meet. And at that point, he had played, I think, 18 seasons, JP, I think, in the NHL.
Yeah.
Won his 3 cups. Had worked with the best coaches in the world. And I was like, who am I to be telling this guy what to do? And I remember asking him the first time, I was like, hey, is there any drills you want me to incorporate or anything like you want to do in practice? He said, no, just drop the puck and get out of the way. So from that, I think I really was like, okay, I don't want to I don't want to overcomplicate everything. You don't have to have the magical drills in your practice. So it's like you think of what are you going to do with a kid, and you want to come up with this unbelievable drill. But a drill is as good as you teach it. A drill is as good as you know the details of it. So even when I'm doing a drill with John and Taves in the summer, I'll break it down to the simplest parts just so he works on that skill. So that's one thing about confidence, where you learn, you ask questions, but then you just have to, I had to ask myself, what do I feel makes a great hockey player? And I have my ideas, and that's my template. I have them written down, and when I'm not sure, I go back to those, and that's what I believe. And people are going to disagree with me. People are going to have a different way of doing it. But if you believe in your way, it's not wrong. I mean, it can't be wrong, right? If you are challenging kids, if they're getting better, if they're improving, who's to say what you're doing is wrong? So be confident, go out there and just do your thing. And I think the one thing I also talk about is, being prepared. So how does it work, JP? Do you send them drills or for practice?
Yeah, depending on the program we're running, normally we'll send drills, or we'll meet before and go over the criteria of what we're working for, of stations, if we're working with teams or associations.
Right.
Work from there, and if we have to go forward or backwards, we kind of have that idea. Some of the staff have been longer and know how to move along and do things and adapt and progress and regress. Some of the younger staff, I guess there's not too many young ones in here anymore, except for maybe Adam. Hasn't had that chance yet, but Adam's just getting his feet wet with us.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's different when, for me, I like the drills I do because I know them and I trust them. If you're getting a drill from JP or whoever else, whoever's running that practice, you can't just go out there and run that drill. Like, you have to know it and you have to believe it too. And I think, JP, that's important for you to have input from all your staff as to the drills, and talk about why you're doing it. And so every time that coach has the confidence to say, well, this is why we're doing the drill, this is what it's working on, and here's the details. So now you're confident in your teaching. You know why. You understand. You believe it. You have input into it. And when you have that, you're going to be a way better coach. Because, again, there's 50,000 ways to do different things. There's, shooting a puck. I've seen coaches all over the world teach the same things in totally different ways. So it's just, again, be confident in yourself, be confident in what you're doing, and believe in it. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that takes time, I think. Like, that didn't come right away. But once you have that, you can do the same thing on ice with a 10-year-old as you can do with an NHL player. Because if you're confident in the drill and you can tell them why and give them the details, it's a good drill. And I give you an example. I think maybe Adam was there. We had Taves on the ice. And again, like JP, I've worked with him since he was young, and we had that relationship where we would discuss things and we'd argue about things. And again, I had to be, here's my reasons why, John, and that's what we're doing. And okay, he could buy in. But I remember we did a drill. So in the summer there, I have kids on after. So sometimes John would see what we're doing. And for their warm up with the pros, I did the same drill that 8 or 9-year-olds were doing. And John kept losing the puck. So he's getting all rattled. There's kids all along the glass. And he's like, he doesn't want to yell because there's all these kids. So he skates by and he's like, can we do a drill that fucking NHL players do? And I was like, yeah, when you can do a drill that 8-year-olds do. So he has that, we had that bickering, but I have that confidence to be like, hey, this is why we're doing it. I don't care who you are. This is why. And if you don't want to do it, fine. This is what I believe. So then he does it. Now he works hard. Now his hands are getting, he goes, okay, that was a good drill. So, and it's the same with, you have 13-year-olds or 10-year-olds. They're not going to confront you like that, I doubt. But to know why you're doing something is really important. And then it doesn't matter who. Even, with the Sedins the last few years, great guys. But again, I'm thinking, what am I doing out on the ice with Henrik and Daniel Sedin? What am I going to teach them? But for me, it was, okay, here's what I think. And I have access to video and all that. So we'd show them. And then they're like, yeah, okay, let's go work on it. So when you believe in yourself, you believe in what you're teaching, you can teach it to anybody. And that's just how it is. And I think once you have that, it makes you a really, really powerful coach.
Hey, Glenn, let's do a couple Q&A so you can catch your breath a little bit. Does anybody have questions for Glenn?
Don't be shy.
I guess one that I had that came up is sometimes when we get to the rink about 30 minutes before we're on the ice with JP, and he goes through all the drills with us, and we come from work, sometimes we have a million other things going on, and we get on the ice, and for whatever reason, I remember one time I completely couldn't figure out why this drill was going wrong that JP asked me to do, and I couldn't figure it out. JP skates by after the third group's gone by, and he goes, Seth, you're not doing the drill right. And I guess I don't know, I guess the time to pause when you're trying to, you have 11 minutes to go through the drill, to pause that drill and say, JP, what's going on when JP's running around talking to other coaches? I don't want the kids to lose the focus of getting through the drill and losing that time to practice when I have to pause it to go maybe get help from JP because I had a lapse and I can't remember that detail of the drill.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering about going ahead, and how would you handle that situation maybe?
That's a great question, because again, that happens all the time, and especially when you have younger kids in their stations. I think there's maybe ways that you guys could communicate better now, whether maybe the practice plan is sent to you earlier. And I know, JP, that's challenging when you got everything going, but it makes it a lot easier for your staff if they have it earlier, so they can come to the rink with questions. I think you're right. During the practice, I wouldn't stop either. I think you got to just, for me, you just got to make the adjustments that you think and make it run. And then maybe the next time that when the station's going just JP, I wasn't sure what I was doing there. But I think that's fine to do that. But you're right. You got to keep it going. And then, or maybe if JP's circling around, you just holler him down and say, well, hey, what's off here or something like that. But I think you're right. And that's where it comes to you guys as staff understanding what the purpose of the drill is. And then, well, you can just tweak it on the ice to make it work. So it's a really good question because that's a common problem.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you guys, like I've had the data prepare where you guys are coming from work or, from school or whatnot, and you got a million things going. I've changed all our practice plans, the way I handwrite them with my beautiful penmanship and getting on the computer. I'm working at sending them so they're going to be legible as well. That is a step I'm trying to take during this time to help us be better and more efficient. So you would get to look at them while you're taking your coffee in the morning or at lunch or whatever. Then we can refresh too during the day. So that is something I'm looking to do. If I figure it all out, you know how I am with computers. But yeah, I think that is hard, and that's why we have to trust each other. Sometimes I'll let you run with it, and sometimes if I'm running through, I'll come by and say something.
Yeah, and I think that's it's really good dialogue. And I think I know when JP were on the ice together with groups and that, I may look over and say, yeah, that's not how I wanted it, but I trust him, so I know it's going to be. They're still getting something out of it, and then I'll go over and say, hey, this is what I meant. And then it's pretty easy to make that adjustment. But I think it's, again, make a call, and you got to just go with it. So I think that's the best solution to that.
I kind of, like, in terms of how you said that everyone has kind of been taught things differently. So, like, everyone has taught a shot differently, or, like, how you receive a pass or how you would do a crossover. Like, do you think it's really important that we're all on the exact same page? Because I know some things we've all had different coaches and approach things. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that's how I would, but I don't know if that's necessarily. So do you think it's important that, say, like, these little things, like when we do crossovers, like we should all be on the same page kind of thing? Or is it okay to kind of adapt and, like, bring in other things that you may have been taught elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, really good question. That's actually my next topic, to be exact, but it's a great question. I think you've got to use the same terminology for sure. Right. But I think you draw from your own experience, right? Like, I think there should be, if you're teaching, shot and stride, and this again is more for GP, but all you guys should know, here's 3 fundamentals of a shot and stride. And that can't be different if you're working within, an organization.
Yeah.
But you might have a great way of explaining it, which is different from someone else, which I think is great. But just use the same terminology for sure.
Right.
But yeah, it's a really good question. And that's my last kind of topic about was, like, consistency in the environment you create.